3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Queen Stage. We're here to spotlight the athletes, stories, and action in women's cycling, giving the sport the attention it deserves. And we're going to do so with the quality, depth, and personality the sport demands.
I'm Rosael Torres-Davis.
I'm Betsy Welch.
I'm Anne-Marije Rook.
And I'm Molly Hurford. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Super Bowl of cycling, the big show, the Tour de France Femmes, avec Zwift. I'm Molly Hurford, and we are kicking off 9 stages worth of race recaps, race excitement. Before we get into it, make sure you are subscribed in your podcast player of choice. Make sure you're leaving us a 5-star rating and, of course, a review. Super helpful. And with that, let's get into it. The topic everyone wants to talk about, what the hell, Visma-Lease-a-Bike? Okay. You know, I don't want to do a show of hands because there's 4 of us on here, but you can't see our hands. But do we think that finish line, the Vos, the Pauline Ferrand-Prevot, do we think that was a tactic, a happy accident? What do we think that was?
Both.
Both?
Yeah, it was really good bike racing, and really experienced bike racers, I think.
Yes, absolutely. I didn't think it was super confusing. I just thought, somebody else had mentioned before, that they went a little too early and they had to improvise. And I think they were just happy whether, as long as the win stayed in the team, they were going to be okay with that.
I don't think they ever meant to race each other. I think the goal was Marianne wins the stage. Pauline does not lose any time in the GC. Just the way it played out with her going, the whole team went extremely early. I was sitting on the couch going, was this a good idea? Are they still going to make it? And then Pauline goes, fuck, road tactics. I'm just going to go. And she takes off. And, I'm standing, cheering her on, thinking she's going to go for the win. And then Kim goes. And then Marianne Vos goes. And next thing I know, I'm like, is Vos chasing her own teammate? Did she have to do this? What's going on here?
No, I think she had to. Yeah, because it seemed to me like Pauline was going to get it. But then Kim LeCourt, who's also a very punchy rider, was starting closing in, I think, around 200 kilometers. And I think Marianne saw that and she's like, no, the win has to stay in the team. And then she went and Pauline ended up in 3rd place anyway. So it was great.
As y'all can tell, we cannot make sense of this quite right. So why don't we just hear from Marianne Vos and see what she has to say?
Congrats, what a win, what a teamwork. Can you speak about your feelings in the final?
Actually the whole race, of course it was short, so we knew it was going to be nervous. Sometimes just spread out, but still you felt the tension in the bunch. And we wanted to do a lead out as a team before the final descent, before the corner, to put Pauline and me in a good position. And the girls did such an amazing job. And then Pauline took a gap at 400 meters to go. And she had actually a really good gap. So at that moment, of course, I looked around and who was coming. And then I saw Kim LeCourt coming. And she really had a good sprint, so I went with her. And I didn't know if Pauline was still hanging in for the finish, but in the end I saw her dropping the speed, so it was a sprint with Kim, and then we just catch Pauline, which is of course a bit a double feeling, but I'm so happy with the team effort, and we could make it.
That's why you launched the sprint at the very last moment.
Yeah, because of course if Pauline can keep it, that's also good. So we're here as a team, and we just to start off like this, that's amazing.
And let's just say Pauline looked thrilled also with her teammates when I think she was, thrilled, maybe relieved, and also just stoked.
Yeah, she was so thrilled that she may get fined for celebrating and putting her arm out before crossing the line. That's how thrilled she was.
That's such a stupid rule.
It is.
Question though, as this was panning out, I was wondering, what is that team doing? Going for a stage win for Marianne Vos, who then also gets the bonus seconds, when last year the GC was divided by just 4 seconds. Wouldn't you want PFP to get every bonus second she can possibly get?
That's very true. I don't know. Molly, what do you have to say?
Oh, it's a great question. But to be honest, all I could think right now is like, thank God Visma-Lease-a-Bike's women's team at least has some semblance of smart tactics happening. Having done the coverage of the men's race for bicycling and now for Tour de France Femmes, I'm like, oh, thank God. I was like so nervous in the 3K to go when we saw Visma-Lease-a-Bike go, and I was like, oh no, is this going to be like a repeat of the men's race where every day I'm just like, what are you guys doing out there? But it seems like they've got a plan. I'm not going to say it's the perfect plan, because you're right, it could come down to seconds, and then we're all going to be sitting here on stage 9 going, oh my God, if only PFP had just taken that first stage win. But for now, I think there's something that's kind of important to the team about Vos being in yellow or being in, lead for like the green sprinter's jersey. There's some value in that too. And I think I really love that they could celebrate that together.
Yeah, they kind of raced the way I wish Demi and Kopecky had raced when they were racing together in SD Works Pro Time. Because they seem genuinely happy for each other. And I mean, we'll see with the rest of the tour, right? If that changes, but yeah.
I mean, they were teammates too. Back in the day, they were teammates at Rabobank. Like, they've known each other for a long time. They've raced together, trained together. So it's really, really fun to see them work together on this.
Yeah, absolutely. And okay, if you've just tuned in, if you're a new cycling fan, that might have all sounded like a lot of information. Let's just be honest here. So we've now tossed a couple jerseys around, we've tossed a couple names around, and we do want to have a section in here that's called No Dumb Questions, where we are answering listener questions about bike racing. So if you're new to bike racing, or if you're even a veteran racer and you're wondering something about tactics, feel free to write in and tell us. And the one question we got today actually was, what does GC stand for? And that is a completely fair question when you are coming into bike racing, because you're like, wait, the leader is leading the GC? What? Because in no other world does general classification really like come to the forefront of like acronyms that you would know. So before we get too deep into who's got what jersey and how exactly the rest of the race played out, because we've only talked about 500 meters worth of racing at this point, let's quickly break down the jerseys that are up for grabs in this race. Rosael, can you hit us with the breakdown?
Yeah. So basically, there's about 3 or 4 races happening within one race. The main race is for the general classification, and that's the race for the yellow jersey. And if this was the Giro Donne, it would be the Maglia Rosa, the pink jersey, and in the Vuelta a España, that would be the red jersey. And it's basically just, it goes to the rider with the fastest overall time across all stages. And also, when you finish in the podium position, you also get bonus points that help you with that. Following that, we also have the green jersey competition, which is basically, it tries to give a prize to the sprinters of the race. And today we saw Lorena Wiebes go for that. And we have the polka dot jersey, which is awarded to the best climber. So there's also going to be QOM points in different climbs throughout the stages. And then we have the white jersey, which goes to the best young rider for riders under 23 years old. And that competition is more similar to the GC, to the yellow jersey, because it's just the best rider that finishes in the fastest time overall.
And that's the rider that's 23 or younger.
Yes.
Yes, now we know the age this time. Very exciting. Awesome. Okay, so with that in mind, Rosael, you also were tasked with the quick recap of the day. So 79 kilometers of racing. It's going to be a fairly quick recap today, I think. But take it away.
It'll be super quick. So it was 79 kilometers of racing. That was just under 50 miles from Vannes to Plumelec. And the race started off a little like people were antsy and nervous. And there was a few crashes in the beginning, but nothing too crazy. Then we had Marlon Reusser was not looking so good, right? From Movistar. She had food poisoning apparently on Thursday. So we saw her getting dropped. And apparently she did end up abandoning the race. And in the sprint points, as I said, Lorena Wiebes got those points. And let's see. And then after the sprint point, just as Rook said it would happen, the little attacks started happening. And we saw Kristen Faulkner from EF Education first attacking there. And then once they reached Caude de Cadoudal, more riders started getting dropped. And there was the polka dot jersey competition with Elise Shabby got for FDJ Suez. Then once they got to the final lap, because there was a circuit there, so they went up to Côte d'Adudal 3 times. That's like the team started getting really organized and the pace really picked up. And then the final lap, a small group tried to get away, but it didn't happen. Then we had Franziska Kosch, from the German champion from Picnic Posenel, who had attacked right a few times before, and then she did another attack with 8 kilometers to go. And other riders tried to join, but Little Trek was working that sprint train for Elisa Balsamo, so they reeled that back real quick. And then we saw also Visma SD Works get organized to bring in Vos and Weaves. And then what happened in the last 700 meters of the race, Visma-Lease-a-Bike was a little too early to be in the front, and they kind of lost too many riders. And then it was just Pauline Ferrand-Prevot in front of Marianne Vos, and she had to lead it out. And at some point, Pauline got a really good gap that even Marianne was pretty shocked by it. And it looked like she was going to get the jersey with like 500 meters to go. She was going to get the win of the stage. But then Kim Lecourt attacked. And when Marianne Vos saw that, as we discussed earlier, Marianne had to go because the win just had to stay within Visma-Lease-a-Bike. And they did it. Marianne got the win. Kim Lecourt of AG Insurance Sudal was second. And Pauline Ferrand-Prevot was third. Did I miss anything?
No, I mean, it was like one thing that you should mention is how short this stage was.
Yes.
Like 79 Ks. It's not quite a prologue because it's not that short, but what really is it? It's more like a circuit race than a road race at that length.
Well, I wanted to ask you guys, how did you feel about this literal circuit race that happened on it, right? They did hit the finish line 3 separate times, which I was thinking, I was like, it's great for fans who are literally on course because they get to see the riders a lot. But how did you feel about it as like the opening stage?
I thought it was great because I saw whenever there's a circuit, there's going to be some corners and turns that are going to be a little sketchy. So I think before they started climbing Cadudal, there was that right turn onto a bridge where we saw Mavi Garcia, Marlon Reusser, and Leona Lippert crash in the lap earlier. And not a serious crash, right? So I like it because it means that they really have to push the pace to stay safe. And it just gets more exciting because people who get dropped and lose position, and it just makes the race really exciting to me.
Yeah, I like a circuit race. You kind of know what to expect. The team dynamics kind of change every time you go around. I do think you mentioned, the corners and it being sketchy. This stage was so crashy. I mean, we crashed before we even left the neutral lead out, and then you could just tell everyone was so tense. Like you tell on their faces, and then that hairpin right turn on the circuit, it had me like screaming and eking every time they came around that corner. And unfortunately, we did see quite a few crashes today, including, the poor Marlon Reusser got cut up, Leona Lippert, like some riders that you really just don't want to see hit the deck ever, but let alone to see those GC ambitions go.
For sure, yeah. And you really hate to see a Marlon Reusser have to abandon in stage 1. Also, with her teammate, Leona Lippert, out the back in that crash, like, my heart just hurt when you saw her down. Because, I mean, can Movistar make up that time? Without Reusser and with Lippert having gone down? Do we think they can make that up?
Well, I think she officially abandoned Marlon Reusser. That's what last I heard.
Reusser did, but Lippert is still in.
Lippert is still in, yeah.
But is this abandon... I mean, she was caught up in the crash, but it wasn't like a devastating crash. Is this her illness, her ongoing illness, is there something else going on there?
For Reusser, I'm sure it's just her illness. I just meant Lippert also, if they're losing Marlon Reusser, who was meant to be their GC rider, Lippert is a great backup GC rider, if not an alternative
stage winner,
first person. Absolutely. But seeing her also hit the deck, so now your poor Movistar is losing. I'm not saying Lippert is out yet, but potentially hurting with 2 of their strongest riders.
Yeah, but maybe this means that Lippert can now go for more stage wins because maybe she would have to be in full support of Reusser, so now she doesn't have to do that.
Yeah.
I can just imagine being on a team bus this evening. Well, it's late in France now. What did this stage end at 8:00 local time? But just, I don't know. I feel like there is both a huge probably sense of relief among these riders, but also a okay, game on. That stage really showed us what's to come, and also maybe was a bit surprising too.
Yeah, I mean, it should not have been a stage that affected the GC, but then unfortunately with Reusser abandoning, that's one person less to compete in the GC. And then we did see Demi Vollering of FDJ Suez losing 3 seconds to Kasia Niewiadoma of Canyon SORAM. So, last year, Kasia won by 4 seconds, so 3 seconds on the first stage one. That says something.
Yeah, I also want to highlight Movistar. Their top ranked person now is more than 6 minutes down in the GC already. So I think we can pretty much safely say Movistar is pretty much out of contention for anything other than stage wins at this point.
Man, that's such a rough start.
Que lástima. Oof.
Yeah. Yeah, but what a statement from PFP. Sorry, I'm just still fawning over Pauline Ferrand-Prevot.
Yeah, she looked so strong.
She looked so strong, and she did not look like she was too labored, like going up that climb and putting that gap. That I would be scared if I was anybody else in that peloton.
Well, and she was putting in so much work beforehand. Like, she was on the front, like,
totally.
in the wind, pulling the entire belt. And I'm, like, sitting there screaming at the TV, like, get off the front. What are you doing? Save your legs. And she, like, you know what? I'm going to get off the front and blow a 500-meter gap from y'all. It was pretty impressive.
The other thing that's so great about her performance today is that I think, a lot of people a couple months ago were, like, all in PFP for GC. There we go with the acronyms. And then a lot of people kind of walk that back because she hasn't raced in months, right? Like, she abandoned was it Vuelta a Burgos? And I mean, it's been months and she's been quiet and she's been training. And so I think a lot of people were reluctant to put all their energy behind her as perhaps the one to win this race. But I feel like today she kind of showed up and was like, yeah, you can put me back at the top of that list.
I mean, she's not saying that, like, in the media and interviews. Like, she's saying, I'm just here. This is my training experience. She wants to win the tour in 2 to 3 years.
Right.
She's like, I'm here. I'm just going to feel it out and see what it's like. Her DS is saying that, she's ready. She's physically and mentally ready for this task. So they're going to try and put her as high as they can in the GC, but no one has dared to say the W, the yellow jersey, or anything yet. But she's by far my wildcard pick. I think she's so fun to watch. She has won everything there is to win on the dirt side. She's got 15 World Championship titles. Not even Marianne Vos has that. And here's what's interesting. Like, everyone's like, the GOAT, Marianne Vos. And she is absolutely the GOAT. But now when you're talking about the GOAT and Jumbo-Visma, I'm not even sure if they're talking about Vos or PFP anymore.
Right.
It could go either way.
Right. We've got a few GOATs.
Is one of them a goat and the other's the kid? Because, PFP is younger, so, we could go baby goat. Okay, so should we quickly break down who is leading in all of the different categories? Rook, do you want to break us down? I mean, it's early stages, so, we also should caveat that, this is very, day one kind of almost barely matters. But still, where are we at?
It totally matters. When you win stage one, you automatically lead the GC in most cases. Sometimes they can get really tricky with bonus points. But today, the winner of stage one is also in the yellow jersey, and that's Marianne Vos. And 4 seconds behind her is Kim Lecourt, and then PFP. So the same order as today's stage is also who's leading in the GC. When we're looking at the GC, we're looking at all the riders that are going to go for the overall win. So usually these are climbers, people that are going to really show us some fireworks in the last couple stages. And so we keep a close eye on these women that we may not have seen, but are also going to go for the GC, which means today we may not have seen them during the stage, but they were there at the finish, including Kasia Niewiadoma and Demi Vollering. Kasia is down by 10 seconds and Demi Vollering is down by 13 seconds. With so much racing still left, these are minor gaps. They're going to be able to make that up. We keep talking about that 4 seconds, but that is incredibly rare. Usually you can make up 10 seconds pretty easily in the mountains. So we'll see what's going to happen there in the next few days. In the points jersey, the sprint jersey, Marianne Vos also has that one. But tomorrow when you're watching the stage, she can only wear one jersey at a time, obviously. So she will wear the yellow jersey. And then the runner-up, the second person, Kim LaCourt, will be in the green jersey, even though she's not technically leading the classification. And then Damon Vollering is sitting in third in that category. And then the Queen of the Mountains is being led by Shabby, followed by Maud Rijnbeek from the Netherlands and Alina Jansen. And then the youth category, the U23 riders, is Julie Bego from Covidis, Nienke Vinke from Team Picnic Post NL, and Titia Rioy from Arkea.
This is why we ask Rook to do the listing of the riders. The pronunciations are just much better than what any of us could do.
Because most of them are Dutch, and so is Rook.
I know, I'm pretty sure I butchered Titia's name. I apologize.
Yeah, but just pre-apologies just for the whole tour, for any of our pronunciations, really. Okay, and were you guys surprised to not really see, like, Vollering or Nui Adoma kind of active in this race? I feel like I got my prediction wrong. I thought stage one, because it was short, was going to have a lot more punchy attacks. I thought we were going to have a lot more like fireworks and teams really like kind of showing what they were made of. And instead we got really much more of like a Peloton-y race with a sprint finish. So am I the only one that was surprised by that? Or any thoughts on the lack of action at the beginning?
You know, like, there were those early breakaway attempts, but the biggest gap they got was like 30 seconds. I think just given the length of the stage, just like the GC themes or the team signing just a stage win, we're not going to allow that to happen. And I think maybe they played it a little safe, where they were just like, let us finish with the group and that'll be enough for us today. That's
My takeaway is it was a lot of safe racing early on. And like Rook mentioned earlier too, like, a lot of tension and nerves, palpable, really. I feel like, and I'm going to jump ahead because I think I'm giving a preview of tomorrow, but I think this is, again, like I said earlier, this stage was really informative, and I think we might see a different type of racing tomorrow after so many riders like playing it safer today. Tomorrow could be a little more exciting by traditional metrics.
I'm hopeful.
Yeah. I mean, I will say for the first QOM, I was like, why isn't anyone going for this? We're just letting Rijnbeek take it.
I'm pretty sure you used the word meh, Rook. We were all kind of on Slack, you know, behind the scenes being like, kind of meh, like what's going on here?
Like, I'm getting bored. Let's go do something. Speaking of Kasia, though, and not seeing her, did you guys see how she almost got hit in the face 3 times during the bottle feed?
Bottles, yeah.
I was like, woman, get out of the way. Could you imagine breaking your nose or something so early and then having the race without being able to breathe for the rest of the 9 stages? No. Terrible.
Not fun. You know, and somebody we didn't mention was Anna van der Breggen, because when Pauline Ferrand-Prevot got that gap in the last 700 meters, van der Breggen was there. Like, she came to play. Like, I don't think, like, she still finished 7th, which is not bad, but she did lost 15 seconds already. So maybe she'll be going for stage wins.
The other really interesting thing that, you know, I was watching this race with a lot of women who were kind of new to cycling in a bike shop here. And a lot of the women, as it started, you know, a couple women are going up the road in these tiny little breakaways. And I had the women who I was watching it with ask me, you know, who is that? And I'd be like, I actually don't know who that is. It's not one of the major players that we're going to expect to see later. So, you know, then they're asking like, well, why would they attack? And it was funny because in the Slack discussion, Betsy, you were kind of saying that this was like the highlight that you wanted to bring to people's attention, because I mean, it's a really interesting part of bike racing. So let's talk about these tiny teams and maybe give a little bit of credit where credit is due.
Yeah, absolutely. I would really love to shout out one team in particular, which is Volker Wessels, a Dutch squad. They had a rider in that first attack. As soon as the race was on, basically, Maud Rijnbeek went up the road. And it gives the audience something to sort of get behind early on in the stages. So anyway, just to give a little background about who is at the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift, what teams are there. This year there are 22 teams, 15 of which are from the highest tier of women's racing, and that's the UCI Women's World Tour. So those teams get automatic invites. The other teams are UCI Pro teams, which is like the next rung on the ladder. And so Volker Wessels is one of those pro teams. It's not a world tour team. So, you know, probably smaller budget, things like that. But these teams are often really exciting, and they're often kind of animators in the races, because what do they have to lose by attacking early and sending people up the road? Sometimes the attacks stick, and one of these riders may find themselves with a stage win. What happened today is Volker Wessels ended up with 2 women on the Queen of the Mountains podium. So Maud Reinbeck, the rider who made the early attack, she was second on the mountains podium. And then Eline Jansen, her teammate, was third. So you never know what can happen. It adds a little excitement, and it just creates more fandom for the sport. You know, people like an underdog. People like a I knew her when, or I remember when type story.
Yeah, and that second rider you mentioned, Eline Jansen, she ended up finishing 8th place overall, just 9 seconds down.
Right. Oh, and it bears mentioning that Volker Wessels, until last year, was known as Park Hotel Valkenburg. And that's the team that Demi Vollering got her start on. So these are also sort of serve as kind of incubator teams sometimes too.
Yeah, and for a lot of these riders, it's sort of an audition, right? Like, this is them trying to get out in front so other teams are seeing them, other team DSs are seeing them and being like, ooh, okay, she can do that. All right, this could maybe work for us. And actually, this also dovetails nicely into our queen of the stage, which we're going to be doing every stage. It's not necessarily the person who won or got the most points or did, the most, but it's someone that we are just like highlighting heavily because they deserve it, and they may not get the shout out in the actual standings. And today we got to highlight Francie Koch. Just one attack after the other. She was going so hard for it. Picnic Post NL, she got 20 points as finishing second in the sprint points. And I mean, my gosh, was she trying? Like, you could not keep her down.
She was so aggressive. Yeah. And it's funny too with that team. Everyone, maybe after last year, looks to Charlotte Kohl right away, the only one that can kind of give Lorena Wiebes a little bit of competition. And instead, here comes this new breakout rider of today's stage anyway. And yeah, it was super fun to see her just attack time and again.
Yeah, and also the other reason these young riders from lesser known teams, the other reason they do these attacks is also to get their name out there, to get like TV time. Like, sponsors love TV time. So if they can get and have the camera on them for a few like hours or minutes, even, like, that's worth something for them.
Absolutely. Okay. Before we wrap up today, let's talk about tomorrow. Rook, do you want to lead us into tomorrow's stage preview? And for anyone who's watching it, reminder, it's going to be at early o'clock. So really, we're just setting up Rook and Betsy here for just disaster with a, 4 a.m. start for them? So 7 a.m. Eastern. Yeah. Talk us through it.
All right. So tomorrow we have a pretty similar stage as we saw today in terms of it being bumpy, it being undulating, but not quite mountainous just yet. So it's going to be a 110 kilometer stage, a little bit more than it was today, with 1,800 meters of climbing, which is about 6,000 feet. So certainly not flat. It's got 4 climbs, a couple of Cat 4s and a Cat 3. So I think we're going to see something very similar today with some chances for a breakaway and maybe some sprint points and QOM points that people are going to go for. But Betsy, who do you think is going to win tomorrow?
Oh, my least favorite question. Mainly this year, because I think there are 10 people who I could name and who I believe have an equal chance of winning. I will say that tomorrow lends itself just a little more to a sprinter, only because that uphill finish is shorter than today's. And I think there's one particular sprinter who may be hungry after today, although she has more chances to sprint on stages 3 and 4. But that's Lorena Wiebes, who we saw maybe not confused, but like surprised at what went down with Visma at the end of today's race. So Wiebes, never rule her out. I mean, she's strong too, even if the finish is uphill. Like, she's strong enough to sprint uphill and win a stage. However, there were a lot of other people on my list of possible stage winners today that I think will also be keen and maybe calmer tomorrow. So while Vos, we're never going to rule her out as a contender. I'm not sure we will see that repeat performance. We've got Lotte Kopecky, who, I mean, that could take us down a whole nother rabbit hole, which is the SD Works question. I'm curious what you guys think about SD Works today. But she is certainly a contender for tomorrow. Anna van der Breggen, we saw a hint of her at the end of the stage today. She kind of launched the first attack and didn't really go anywhere, but she still finished 7th overall. And tomorrow would be a great stage for her, a punchier, classic style stage.
Yeah, I'm going to counter that, though. I'm going to counter your prediction because, you mentioned Lotte Kopecky, and I'm just realizing she is 1 minute down. I'm not sure what happened there in the race because she and Elisa Longoborghini also lost a bunch of time today. And Elisa Longoborghini is a GC rider for UAE ADQ. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have a breakaway containing those two riders just trying to either get a stage win or just get some more time.
Let's hope for a breakaway, to be honest.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I would take that. I'm also just going to complain about the uphill finish very quickly. I would love to see more flat finishes, frankly, even just from strictly a viewing perspective. I know, when we watched the first time they went through that circuit and crossed the finish line, we were all like, meh. The second time, I was still a little meh. Okay, not the third time. The third time I was at the edge of my seat, obviously. But I would just love to see more flat finishes at the start. I'm just putting it out there.
Can we talk about sprinters for a minute? I think what Visma-Lease-a-Bike did today was the only way you're going to beat someone like Lorena Wiebes, who, what's interesting about Lorena Wiebes is that she is the sprinter to beat, absolute powerhouse, yet she's never actually worn or kept the green jersey. So I'm sure she wants that pretty badly because she's also it's one of those sprinters who can actually make it up a hill. But when things all fall into place, the lead out that SD Works has is incredible. You got Lotte Kopecky, you got Anna van der Breggen, you got Blanca Vos. Line those up, put Lorena Wiebes behind it, and you've got almost no chance as an opposing team. So what Jumbo did today was perfect because there was no traditional sprint, and therefore Wiebes does not win. What do you make of this? Is there, when it comes down to a sprint vintage, should other teams be more aggressive like Jumbo was today, like Lease-a-Bike was today?
Well, it worked.
So the intermediate sprint, it was Wiebes won, well, duh. It's kind of expected at this point.
Yeah, I guess I was surprised to see not that being too contested. But I feel like this tour also maybe has less sprinters than others. It seems like Lorena's going to take it unless Vos manages to take it.
I also stand by this is the uphill problem. I think it was just a lot of the teams could not figure out, they just couldn't respond to PFP's just massive haul up that final climb. And if it had been a proper, flatter finish, then I think the sprint teams actually would have been really lining it out better. I think we kind of saw it was really hard to get the positioning right because of the power you had to put down just to go up that kind of, it wasn't a false flat. It was literally 4 or 6% or something. So hard enough. So it's just not really, I just didn't really feel like it was a proper sprint to begin with.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't stages 3 and 4 the true flat that we're calling sprint stages?
Yeah.
So maybe we're erroneously projecting sprinters onto these first two stages.
Well, the women's peloton is so different. I feel like some of our sprinters are more capable of climbing, as we see with Lorena Wiebes, because today, if the race had gone differently, I still believe she could have won. But maybe it's tomorrow, and maybe she will take 3 and 4 as well.
And
or
maybe tomorrow, sorry, Molly, but I just want to end with my pick for tomorrow, just because I didn't plug her earlier, but tomorrow could be a Puck win.
For sure.
I'm going to put that out there. She won a hilly stage in last year's race, and she was up there today. Maybe kind of just checking out the scene. Again, I have this idea in my head that Puck is, not that she's all fun and games, but I do think she projects a sort of relaxed and playful nature, in addition to being a total badass racer.
Yeah, absolutely. She loves racing.
Yeah.
I also think that's more, it's not necessarily like by any means sprinter stage. It's I would say a puncher stage. Someone who can punch it up these short climbs and get to the finish with a lot of power.
And Rosael, I think you're actually right that like we used to, you know, when we talk about sprinters, we're talking about women who can do it all. And I actually hope that we're moving in a direction where in the women's peloton, we actually do have like the true sprinter, the like Cavendish, where like they're getting dropped on all of the other stages, but they're coming in just for the sprint stages. Cause I feel like that's when, you know, we're like really leveling up in women's cycling, is like when we actually start to have women getting paid just to be the sprinter and go for the sprint, not where they're expected to like also then work for their teammates and do a bunch of other stuff. So I'm going to be like excited about when we like lose some of the all-arounder sprinters who can also hang with the group. Okay, well, I think if no one else has any other predictions for tomorrow's stage, we will wrap up there. Make sure that, again, you're subscribed wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find us at Queen Stage Women's Cycling Podcast. Definitely leave us a 5-star rating and review. It takes 2 seconds, and we deeply appreciate it. You can also find us over on queenstage.cc on Instagram, and we would love to hear all of your questions. Remember, there are no dumb questions, and we want to answer them. All right. Until tomorrow, thanks so much for tuning in. This has been The Queen Stage.